Welcome back to another Pianostics 15-minute lesson. Today we'll be focusing on the theme from Robert Schumann's Symphonic Etudes, Opus 13. This is a work that I've played pretty extensively, learned it during my master's at Juilliard, and also went on to compete with it. I'll be playing it in a couple of weeks in a recital in Chicago. And it's a piece that I've played pretty much every season for the past 5 or 6 years, and always come back with new ideas on how to make it even better and how to bring out something new. I had many lessons on just the theme because there are so many elements to it to really make it shine, as this theme serves, as the building blocks of the entire work, and we hear different parts of the theme echoed back or echoed forward in the other variations that follow and fill out the rest of this work. The work is about 24 minutes, so we do have a lot of opportunities for the theme with its harmonies and melodies to really permeate the rest of the work in many, many different characters. So the game plan I want to speak about in just the theme would be defining the hierarchy of what's important to bring out, maintaining legato despite the rolls and arpeggiated phrases that we need to focus on, and find out where exactly to place certain rolled chords so that we're not making a break in the line. He writes legatissimo, and so we really need to be sure, especially depending on what our hand size is, if we need to consider how we're going to prepare everything so that the main line, the melody line, which is the top most important part of the hierarchy in this theme, goes undisturbed, and we're allowed to play it freely, but also adhere to the rhythmic markings that he has. We want to hear the harmonic changes that occur, because those harmonic changes are going to be very important when we hear them in the later variations. And then keeping the tempo, which is very similar to maintaining the legato. We want to keep the flow going despite a lot of pushback and expansion that we might want to do in order to hear different, not always hearing the melody, but the counter melodies, especially in the tenor line. There's some beautiful moments, and just because of the sheer heaviness and the chordal writing that he does as well, to make sure that we're moving along and we're not getting hung up on any one area, so that it really seems like a cohesive, moving phrase coming along throughout this whole first 4 lines. So in terms of hierarchy, we actually, in this version, for example, we do see that the melody is marked as just kind of a regular size note, and the rest, being the inner harmonies as well as the bass, are almost in a smaller kind of text that you would see almost reserved for grace notes or trills, or even a lot of what's written in the Aeolian harp Chopin Etude Opus 25 number 1. A lot of those notes like this are written in this smaller text. It's a miniature notation mode. So we see here that the hierarchy is in a way that the melody is obviously first and foremost, and it's marked legatissimo. So this is going to pose a number of problems, because we've got to do a lot of rolling that he writes here in the second, third, and fourth measures, and how are we going to keep the evenness of the phrase? So let's play the phrase and see what comes from it. So that's the first statement of the whole phrase, going across 8 bars almost. So in terms of hierarchy, we want to hear the main melody line mostly with the pinky and the fourth finger. I took a sight reading course. Well, it was actually mandatory at Juilliard, and our professor had said that, besides playing the melody, the most important thing that we get right in sight reading is the bass line. The bass is always, obviously it's the bass for the harmony. And so even though these octaves, well, it starts with the open fifth, but the octaves, those octaves are really helping us define the harmony of the line, which admittedly is pretty basic. You just have a lot of, you've got a 1 chord, a 4 chord, a 5/7. So you don't have too much, but really hearing that and giving a consistent sound, along with hearing the melody line, the main melody, is going to be, the thing that really is the glue that holds everything together. The inner voices, which are also marked in a miniature notation, are supportive, and they kind of say what we already know by playing the melody with the bass. And they're, this supportive fill, and but they do actually pose a problem, because he does ask us to play kind of the melody with the bass, which is already kind of spread over 4 octaves, and then we have to roll with the fill, with the harmonic fill, in between that. And so if we're playing at an andante tempo, it's going to be a little bit challenging, that we need to plan exactly how we're going to reach in time the top note, which is our melody. And so that we're not slowing down, we're not creating any pauses that are going to make a hole in the line that we're trying to create legatissimo, as he writes. So this is our first rolled chord here. And now my keyboard didn't give me the A that I wanted, so I'll try it again. And continuing F, G, F, G, A. So we obviously, unless we have hands like Rachmaninoff, which not everyone has, and we're not allowed to, we actually have to roll the chord and roll. And so one thing I do in order to maintain the legato is I don't play the line by itself with just any fingering, because I know exactly what I'm going to have to do later, which is mostly being to play this between 5/5, 5/5 or 4, 5/5, 5/3, 5. So I'm mostly playing a legato line with 5 and having to change the pedal a lot. So that is pretty problematic. And so how do we keep the legatissimo throughout the whole line? Well, not rushing through these rolled chords, and also stay true to keeping the hierarchy as it is, with the melody, the bass, and then the fill of the harmony. So what I'm doing to make sure that I'm always playing the melody as if you could imagine having heard it played with just, one hand, it needs to really feel like it's that smooth. I do start the rolls a little bit earlier, but not so much earlier that it seems like there's no break between the previous quarter note, and not too quick that it sounds a little bit flippant, that we're not really giving it. If we play the roll too quickly, it's going to take us out of the character that we've created. That kind of, it's not something that we really would feel that's in this C sharp minor atmosphere. And so if you think that, okay, I'm playing my rolls ba-ba-pum, ba-ba-pum, the evenness of how you roll is actually going to enhance the illusion that we are really creating even more legatissimo in this line, because we have something that's more, the line is continuing at a steady pace, and even something that's unpredictable like a roll, the more we can have that fit and formed to the line, evenly spaced as much as possible, not robotically so, but naturally, is going to be something that's going to help the line, that we hear the bass, and we also are getting the rolled chords, which is not disturbing our line and allowing us to maintain the legato. Now onto the harmonic changes. Obviously the left hand is in the first line. We're basically getting 4 chords, 4 chords. It's very, very basic, but in the second line is when we start to see some transformation. We're going to be heading into E major, and it's not really the melody that's going to be taking us there. It's a couple of chords in the bass as well as the inner melodies that are really propelling us there, and we have a nice hairpin with basically a crescendo indicated to forte, so that we can really expand our sound and move here to feel this beautiful harmony change taking place. So I'm going to start from the second line, the second part of the opening phrase. That's really great harmonies, and rich and luscious. So in addition to hearing our melody, it's interesting because he drops the importance of the bass here. And of course the bass comes up a little bit higher. It actually comes up an octave higher compared to where it was in the depths here in the first line. But in the second line, the harmony changes are taking place more in this middle area around middle C. And so I want to take full advantage of hearing, switching the hierarchy of what we hear to the middle lines, and that's going to give us a very different personality musically wise, whereas we had something a little bit more dark and open with these octaves and fifths in the first line. In the second line, we hear something much warmer, much more chordal, chorale-like in the second line. Keeping your tempo after following the 3 previous steps of making sure everything is in order, making sure that everything is visible and that we can hear and sonically audible, maintaining our legato line, that we always have a forward kind of pulse, that we're not lacking. And if we're lacking in the tempo, is it because we're making a statement of something like at the end of a phrase, that we're doing a ritardando, that we're really bringing something out? Or is the tempo lacking because we haven't thought through exactly how to do a big reach or the rolls in the first couple of measures? It's going to be very clear when the tempo has a slight pause or goes forward because of either something that we're not comfortable with, or if it's actually a musical choice. And it's going to be very easy it should be easy for us, and we should be very, very mindful of what is the actual reason that the tempo and the pulse, if it is disturbed, what's causing that, and how can we fix that? And then we also want to hear these harmonic changes, like and here, giving enough time in the last part. I mean, he writes a fermata there, so we do have time. It shouldn't affect the tempo so much, but really finding those places. When he comes back here, we do have this idea. We have this A major section, and then we have it again, but this one is marked with the sforzando, so we have more energy to give to that. So I hope by following these 4 points of the game plan, you can have a really cohesive and straightforward idea of what you want to do in your own way in the theme of Robert Schumann's Symphonic Etudes. See you in the next lesson.